Revealed, the spine-chilling, cursed secrets behind Napoleon's terrifying final days in exile. The old town of Ashwick had secrets. Dark ones. Secrets that whispered through the cracks of weathered homes, lingering in the shadows as if waiting for someone to uncover their chilling truth. Maeve, a 32-year-old single mother, felt it in the air, an electric tension, thick enough to cut. She brushed it off as the fatigue from her long shifts at the diner. The clatter of dishes, the low murmurs of townsfolk, those were her anchors. But even with that, every night was a battle against the shadows creeping into her dreams, and they tugged at her daughter, Lily, too. With every flicker of the diner's neon sign outside, Maeve's mind skittered around tired thoughts, bills, rent, and those dreaded nightmares that left Lily screaming in the night, her tiny frame shaking with fear. Was it too much to ask for peace? But that's when the whispers began, soft, haunting echoes drifting from her grandfather's crumbling house just down the road. The old place, once a proud landmark, had fallen victim to the decay of time. It was said to hold cursed artifacts from Napoleon's exile, horror tied to a lock of hair that promised doom. It left Maeve shivering as she recalled tales of betrayal from the town's history books. One sleepless night, the flickering lights in their living room seemed to taunt her, dimming and brightening as if carrying a message only she could understand. Her heart raced. What were they trying to tell her? As she tucked Lily into bed, she felt a tightening in her chest. The shadows sprawled over her little girl's face, wrapping around her like a vine. Maeve kissed her forehead, pushing the unease aside, but then, Lily started waking up, tears streaming down her cheeks, crying out in terror. "Mommy! It's here again!" Each scream burrowed deep into Maeve's heart, escalating her desperation. She glanced at their home. It didn't look scared. It looked alive. The walls felt closer, the air pressing down like a weight. And the neighbors, they changed too. Friendly faces now avoided her gaze, their smiles replaced by tight-lipped caution as if keeping a secret that strained against their lips. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Rumors flitted through the diner like moths. "The one who possesses the hair," they whispered, voices dropping low as Maeve approached. The fear in their eyes sent waves of paralyzing cold down her spine. She was drawn into a web, and each revelation about her grandfather's past pulled tighter, threatening to ensnare her completely. In the attic, she found his journal, its pages yellowed and frayed, breathless ramblings about family curses and artifacts that claimed lives for their own. "You can never leave," it warned. The dread squeezed around her heart, she could feel it tightening more and more. Standing before the mirror in her long darkened hallway, whispers crescendoed to a deafening roar, and her reflection morphed into something unrecognizable. History had a price. Maeve feared she would learn just how steep that cost could be. Would she have the strength to face the horrors hidden in her own bloodline, or would they consume her and Lily before dawn? The night seemed to stretch on, a black void with no safe corners. Maeve lay in bed, her heart pulsing like a war drum in her chest. Lily's soft whimpers echoed like mournful spirits, pulling Maeve deeper into wakefulness. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering shapes that twisted and turned as if mocking her fear. She glanced at the clock. 2:03 a.m. was illuminated in harsh red light, mocking her own restlessness. "Mommy!" Lily's voice broke the stillness, fragile as glass. Maeve turned, seeing her daughter's wide eyes glistening in the dark. "It's coming for us." "Shoo, sweetie, it's just a dream," Maeve replied, though her own voice quivered with uncertainty. The whispers skittered through the house, and Maeve swore they were calling her name, echoing with an urgency that gripped her throat. Just a dream. But she knew it was a lie, and that darkness clung to every corner, creeping forward, devouring whatever light remained. In a heartbeat, her decision was made. If the shadows were real, then the answer laid in her grandfather's house. It was a place she had avoided, yet its pull was undeniable. Tossing off the covers, she slipped into her jacket, glancing at Lily, who had already nestled back under the covers, trembling. "I'll be right back," Maeve whispered, though a knot of dread tightened in her belly. "Just wait for me." Stepping outside, she was greeted by a chill that gnawed at her skin. The moon hung low, smothered by dark clouds, as if even the night sky held its breath. The old house loomed ahead, crumbling bricks hiding unspeakable horrors. Each step felt weighed down by invisible chains, the ground uneven beneath her frantic feet. The familiar scent of decay filled the air as she reached for the doorknob, rusted and cold as death itself. Inside, the darkness waited, thick and oppressive. She flicked on her phone's flashlight, cutting through the void. The walls seemed to whisper warnings, taunts of secrets long buried. She climbed the stairs, an unseen force pushing her forward, and paused outside the attic door. There was more to find. With a deep breath, she pushed the door open and was engulfed in dust and stale air. The shapes of forgotten furniture loomed in the shadows, but her eyes were drawn to her grandfather's old trunk. The journal lay beside it, beckoning her like a siren. As she knelt and opened it, the pungent smell of aged paper filled her senses, and she could feel the weight of history pressing down, urging her to uncover the truth. Flipping through the pages, one entry in particular made her blood run cold. "The lock of hair draws nearer, I can feel its presence." Each word was a chilling echo of her own fears. The pictures scrawled beside passages showed grotesque faces twisted in anguish, victims of the artifact, perhaps. A sudden chill slithered down her spine. The old house creaked, as if in agreement with her growing terror. Shadows skittered closer, thin wisps pooling at her feet like a hungry fog. A loud crash echoed from somewhere within the house, making Maeve jump. The noise was heavy. Something had fallen, or worse yet, something had tried to come more alive. She needed to leave. But as she stood to flee, her phone flickered, the screen showing a text from an unknown number. "You've awakened it." Her heart raced. Maeve's breath felt trapped in her throat, as panic surged. The doorway seemed to stretch further away. As the shadows closed in around her, she faced the terrible truth. What would she do if escape was no longer an option? Something behind her stirred. Maeve turned slowly, the air thickening with dread. The whispers morphed into a low growl, and she felt the weight of hundreds of eyes watching from the dark corners of the attic. And then, a familiar voice cut through the voice of her daughter. "Mommy." Would Maeve choose to confront the darkness that loomed before her, or would she run? It all depended on which path she thought would save Lily, and herself. The darkness pressed in on Maeve like a living thing, and the moment stretched. The familiar voice of Lily was a lifeline thrown into an abyss, but it sent dread clenching in her gut. Maeve hesitated, feeling a magnetic pull, caught between her daughter's cries and the sinister weight of the shadows. That growl, low and hungry, vibrated in her bones. "Lily!" she shouted, her voice strained, echoing in the void. The shadows pulsed around her as if they were alive, thrumming with some monstrous heartbeat. Maeve darted toward the attic door, but it slammed shut with a deafening bang, a cruel joke by unseen hands. Panic clawed at her throat as she banged on the door. "Let me out! Let me out!" The whispers turned into a cacophony, a chorus of despair. "You opened it, you have to pay the price." They wriggled around her like snakes, coiling tightly, squeezing the air from her lungs. "Lily!" Desperation made her voice shrill, but no answer came, only silence thicker than the shadows themselves. Maeve turned back, heart racing, scanning the attic for any sign of movement. The trunk loomed larger, more threatening now. With shaky hands, she approached it. The journal seemed to shimmer in the light of her phone, inviting, menacing. The latch clicked softly in the stillness as if welcoming her directly into the nightmare. "What do you want from me?" she whispered, more to herself than the shadows pressing closer. An icy wind swept through the attic, slamming her against the trunk, knocking the breath out of her. She gasped, The weight of something ancient radiating from the dusty wood, a dark energy that gnawed at her resolve. Read! A voice screamed in her mind, reverberating through her thoughts, echoing with desperation. Was it her own voice? She grabbed the journal again, her fingers trembling as she flipped through the pages, searching for answers like a moth drawn to flame. Suddenly, a name leapt from the pages, scrawled messily across a sheet: Isolde. It resonated in Maeve's mind, a whisper that twisted her heart. The entry was a grim warning about a woman who had once been a powerful witch, cursed for her greed and jealousy. She will find you, it warned, unless you find the lock of hair. Cold realization washed over her. This was no ordinary artifact. The darkness was connected to her. Her choices had awakened something ancient and malignant. A soft wail cut through the chaos, the unmistakable sound of Lily, and it filled her stomach with icy dread. "Mommy, it hurts, I'm scared, stay there." "I'm coming," Maeve cried, her voice catching. She turned back to the trunk, desperate to discover how to save her daughter. The whispers became cries of anguish, and the shadows pushed against her, trying to hold her back. She gritted her teeth, focusing on the journal, brow furrowed as she dug deeper. What do I do? How do I stop this? A rustle. Something shifted behind her. Maeve's heart jumped as a slender figure emerged from the dark corner of the attic. Her breath caught in her throat. It was a woman, Isolde, shrouded in a mist of darkness that flickered like shadows from a forgotten nightmare. Her eyes glinted with hunger, locking onto Maeve's. "Leave it," hissed, words curling around her, "or fold your will into the darkness." The air thickened, and Maeve's spine prickled with horror. She darted toward the attic door, slamming her shoulder against it, desperate for escape. But as she turned one last time, the figure loomed closer, and Maeve felt an overwhelming urge to succumb to the shadows rather than fight. The house groaned, walls shifting, as if the very structure desired to entrap her wholly. Panic surged. She needed to save Lily, but the darkness beckoned her with false promises of safety. Would she surrender to Isolde's command, or risk everything and face whatever horror waited behind the door? The answer awaited her, pulsating in the dark. Maeve's pulse thudded in her ears as Isolde stepped closer, the shadows roiling around her like a living shroud. She could feel the cold tendrils of darkness reaching for her, beckoning her to join them, to sink into their depths. The air was thick with tension so palpable that it felt as if her breath could shatter it into shards. "Not now!" Maeve shrieked, gripping the journal tighter. Her heart raced with each second, drowning in frantic thoughts of Lily and the distorted face of Isolde. She had to act, there was no time for fear. Gathering her resolve, she spun on her heel and lunged for the door once more, slamming her body against the stiff wood, rattling the doorknob with desperation. "Mommy!" Lily's voice cut through the fog, sharp and piercing, pulling Maeve back from the edge of surrender. "Please, please help me. Lily!" Maeve bit back the panic threatening to drown her. "I will find you." With renewed determination, she twisted back to face Isolde, finally finding her voice amidst the rising tide of dread. "What do I have to do to save my daughter?" The witch's smile was both seductive and sinister, revealing teeth that glinted like a predator's. "You must offer something, you must give what matters most." "What do you mean?" Maeve's voice trembled, fear clawing at her insides. "Your heart, your soul. The darkness hungers and it seeks a pact." "Never." Maeve spat, fear solidifying into anger. The shadows shrieked, thin wisps of despair slicing through the air like knives. Drawing upon her fury, she began to scan the room, searching for something, anything that could aid her. The trunk loomed larger in her peripheral vision, its presence a weight pressing on her chest. There had to be a reason. The journal had called her to it, a way to banish this evil. With one final glance at Isolde, whose patience was wearing thin, Maeve approached the trunk again. "What do you want with my heart?" "Only the price for your child's safety. She is tangled in the web of this witch's will and it's growing tighter." The air grew colder still, and Maeve shivered, true dread radiating from the trunk as if the very memories inside it were alive and tangled in nightmare. The whispers resumed, a sinister lullaby of lost souls and broken promises intertwining with desperate cries for release. Clenching her fists, Maeve opened the journal one last time, her heart racing as she flipped through the pages, skimming over long-dead words and uncertain warnings. You have to be in control. Find the lock of hair. But where? Where would she find the key to battle what Isolde had become? In a fit of inspiration, she recalled the family photo hidden in Lily's room. The lock of hair wasn't her daughter's innocent curl. The key. Panic sharpened with resolve. She needed to get to Lily now, while there was still time. With renewed urgency, Maeve turned to face Isolde. Whatever you are, I want to give in to you. I'll find my daughter and end this. Before Isolde could respond, a sharp, hurried sound broke through the attic. Something smashed against the walls below. A crash, shattering glass, echoing with the shouts of terrified voices. The house shook violently, the floorboards creaking and groaning under the weight of whatever chaos had erupted below. The shadows convulsed, and Isolde's expression twisted in fury, anger rippling through the darkness. You think you're alone in the dark? You've only just begun to pay the price. Maeve stole a glance towards the attic door, knowing she had to move fast. The presence of Isolde felt suffocating, but the cries of Lily pierced through the veil of uncertainty. Before the next heartbeat passed, Maeve lunged for the attic stairs, determination fueling her legs. She could feel Isolde's fury behind her. You can't escape. She belongs to me. As Maeve sprinted down the stairs, she could hear the echoes of the house twisting around her, shadows clawing at her feet, desperate to pull her back into the abyss. But all that mattered was getting to Lily. She had to reach her before the darkness consumed them both. The commotion below grew louder, and Maeve's thoughts raced. Had something terrible happened? The fear of losing Lily spiraled like a whirlwind through her. With each step, she felt the weight of the shadows lifting, but Isolde's presence loomed large. She could hear her daughter's sobs growing closer, each soft cry twisting into a tightening knot in her chest. Would she find her in time, or would Isolde's curse take them both? As Maeve reached the bottom of the stairs, the front door burst open, and a figure stepped inside. A man with wild eyes, covered in grit and grime, blood dripped from his brow. I know what she wants, he shouted, locking eyes with Maeve. And in that instant, the world shifted, leaving Maeve breathless and teetering on the edge of a new horror. What truth did he carry that could change everything? The man staggered into the entryway, the door slamming shut behind him as if an unseen force had thrown it closed. Maeve's heart raced, fear washing over her like a cold wave. She had to focus, had to understand what he meant. What do you know? She pressed, urgency cracking her voice. Where's Lily? His face was a canvas of panic and urgency. Isolde, she's feeding off your daughter's fear. The more you hesitate, the stronger she gets. Maeve's breath hitched. I won't let that happen. Where is she now? The man staggered closer, eyes wide and shiny as though he hadn't slept in weeks. I heard her. She's in the cellar, trapped in the dark. I've seen what happens there. Isolde's magic, it's twisted and hungry. You can't just rush in blindly. Then help me. Maeve shouted, every nerve on fire with desperation. What can I do? The man hesitated, glancing over his shoulder toward the shadows gathering in the corners of the room. You need to confront Isolde. You must break her hold on Lily. But to do that, you'll need the key. What key? Maeve's voice sharp as glass. That he leaned closer, lowering his tone as if speaking too loudly might wake some great horror. The hair. A single curl belonging to your daughter is bound to Isolde's power. It can sever the curse. But she'll do everything to keep you from it. Panic seized Maeve. I don't have time for riddles. I'll lose her. The man's expression twisted in anguish. It's her blood. That's what Isolde craves, the pure essence of your love. You have to dig deep, into whatever darkness is inside you. That's what she wants. She'll try to manipulate you. Maeve nodded. I don't care. I'll do anything. Then go. Get to her before it's too late. He urged, motioning wildly towards the cellar door. With every bit of resolve she could muster, Maeve broke past him, taking a breath to steel herself for what lay ahead. She could feel that suffocating darkness coiling in the house, grasping at her ankles like hungry hands. The weight of 1,000 troubled souls pressed against her, yet Lily's cries pulled her forward. As she reached the cellar door, she grasped the handle. It was ice cold, sending a jolt of panic coursing through her. Taking a moment to collect herself, Maeve pushed the door open. The creaking echoed through the staircase as shadows spilled out like a living mist, writhing against the dim light. "Stay close, Lily," she whispered to the shadows. "I'm coming for you." Descending the stairs, fear wormed its way deep into her heart as the cries of her daughter grew more frantic. Each step felt an eternity, the darkness pressing heavily against her. She stepped into the cellar, the air thick and musty. The flicker of an oil lamp struggled to cast any warmth, but the shadows only sneered, ready to pounce. "Why do you come here?" Isolde's voice slithered through the darkness, syrupy and confident. "Lily!" Maeve cried, pushing through the dread threatening to collapse her resolve. "Your love is weak," Isolde taunted, materializing from the shadows like a nightmare made flesh. "It will never free her." Maeve gritted her teeth, need fueling her defiance. "I will do whatever it takes. Then you will give me what I desire most." Isolde's eyes glittered like shards of ice. "Your very soul." Just then, a glint caught Maeve's eye. In a shadowy corner, she spotted the glimmer of golden curls. Lily's lock of hair, caught in the decaying remnants of an old trunk, but before she could reach it, Isolde's presence exploded like wildfire, a rush of fury sweeping through the room. "No!" she screeched. "You will not escape me." The darkness surged, lunging toward Maeve as she screamed, "I will save my daughter." As shadows coiled around her like serpents, Maeve knew this was at the final push, the last struggle against the monster that had plagued her. Would she grasp the hair, the key to unraveling everything, or would Isolde claim them both? Just as the darkness threatened to swallow her whole, a terrifying realization dawned: their lives hinged on an impossible choice. What sacrifices would she have to make to free Lily? And would it cost her everything she held dear? Maeve's heart thundered in her chest, the truth of Isolde's twisted love snaking through her like poison. The air seemed to press in on her, thick and oppressive, and fear coursed through Maeve's veins like a deadly toxin. "Lily!" she cried again, forcing herself to think through the haze of darkness and terror. The cursed hair, the golden curl, it shimmered even in the abyss. Just one arm's reach away. Isolde sneered, her presence looming large, a malignant shadow. "You think you can take her from me? You think love can trump the shadows? I will plunge you into despair." Maeve stumbled forward, the cold fingers of shadows grasping at her limbs, wrapping around her waist like a belt of ice. "Lily is my light!" Maeve shouted, yanking against the grasp of the darkness. "I won't let you have her." The shadows darkened, retreating for a moment as if stunned by her defiance, and Maeve seized the fleeting opportunity. She lunged toward the trunk, hand outstretched, moving through an ocean of swirling despair. She wanted to scream, to just rip through the darkness that tried to drown her. But her fingers brushed the trunk's surface, and a deafening roar erupted from Isolde, vibrating the very foundation of the cellar. "Do you think you're ready to face the truth? To face your own darkness? Shut up!" Maeve growled, opening the trunk with a ferocious shove. The lid creaked ominously, revealing what looked like a twisted collection of forgotten memories, torn photographs, broken toys, and at the very back golden curls gently glimmering in the dim light, tangled in decay like forgotten dreams. As Maeve reached inside, Isolde's laughter echoed, chilling and mocking. "Do you think you can sever the bond? It runs deeper than you know." Maeve snatched the curl, holding it close to her heart. A shockwave of energy exploded through her, igniting her nerves with pure adrenaline. As the shadows whipped violently, she felt a whisper of Lily's presence, a flicker of love and courage coursing through her. But before she could breathe, Isolde struck back, darkness swirling like a vicious storm. "You're a fool. Love is not enough." The shadows tightened around Maeve's throat, choking her clarity, squeezing until gasping became impossible. Panic surged in her chest. "I will find her," she wheezed, her grip on Lily's hair tightening. "I will save her." With every ounce of strength, she tore through the suffocating grip of darkness, clenching the golden lock. "Face your fears." Isolde's voice thundered, laced with malice. "Face the truth of why she is trapped. It's your weakness that binds her." Fury ignited within Maeve, fiercer than any fear. She grit her teeth, vision blurred by darkness, and with a primal shout, she yanked the hair free. The moment filled with silence, a shocking stillness before the storm. Lily's cries were suddenly loud, piercing, echoing like a wail of 1,000 trapped souls. Light burst forth from the lock, knocking back shadows, overwhelming the air with warmth and clarity. "Isolde!" Maeve screamed, the name unraveling from her like a battle cry. "You have no hold on me." As the shadows screeched in agony, Maeve pressed the curl tightly in her palm. A wave of warmth surged through her, igniting her memories, her love for Lily stronger than any darkness. Would it be enough to keep Isolde at bay? But before she could find out, the ground trembled violently, and Maeve felt something shift in the air. Isolde's figure grew monstrous, a whirlwind of fury and darkness. "You've unleashed something far more dangerous in that moment," a fierce chill coursed through the room, as if the very essence of terror began to awaken. Maeve turned, scanning the dark cellar for Lily, but the shadows hissed, twisting and writhing around her like a clinging fog. Was it really over? Or had she unleashed something worse? As shadows trembled with rage, what else lay ahead? Would she summon the strength to confront her deepest fears? The chilling laughter of Isolde echoed in her mind, and confusion clawed at her. There was no time to think. The darkness was clawing to get her back. And with Lily still lost somewhere in that abyss, Maeve understood. The true challenge was only just beginning. The shadows quivered, drawing close, whispering in voices that felt almost familiar, taunting, echoing Maeve's own doubts. Fear wrapped around her like a vice, squeezing tighter and tighter. She staggered backward, her mind racing. Where was Lily? Was she truly lost to Isolde's dark grip? The cellar was now a battlefield. The trunk, once merely a collection of memories, transformed into a portal of nightmares. Each creak of the wood was like a scream, and the golden curl in her hand pulsed with the rhythm of her heartbeat. It was the only thing tethering her to hope. "Isolde!" Maeve shouted again, her voice steady, though her heart hammered like a war drum. "You can't keep me away from her." The air thickened, pressing against her skin. Shadows swirled dangerously close, reaching for her with icy fingers. They brushed against her cheeks, chilling her to the bone. Maeve fought back, summoning every ounce of strength within her. She could feel Isolde's malevolence creeping ever closer, a predator eager to pounce. But then, a flicker of movement. There, where the shadows coiled around the trunk, Maeve caught a glimpse. A small figure. Lily. Desperation surged through her as she lunged forward, shadows clawing at her ankles, pulling her down. "Lily!" Maeve cried again, dread and resolve clashing inside her. She hopped desperately, her feet skimming the cold floor, resisting the clutches of darkness. With one swift motion, she thrust the golden curl toward the trunk, willing it to react. Suddenly, the light intensified, bathing the cellar in a blinding radiance. Colors erupted from the curl, swirling and morphing into haunting memories. Love, laughter, and warmth spewed forth, illuminating the gloom. Each memory was an echo of what was lost, a time when they had shared moments of pure joy. "No!" Isolde screeched, her voice teetering on madness. "You cannot erase what I have built. You cannot." The shadows writhed in fury, sentient and vengeful, flying at Maeve like 1,000 sharp daggers. But Maeve stood her ground. The light radiated from the curl, a shield against the oncoming storm. With a fury forged from deepest love, she yelled, "This ends now." The light surged, ripping through the cellar, casting Isolde's shadowy form into chaos. Maeve felt the tremors of an ancient power beneath her feet. The earth groaned, bricks cracked, and the very foundations of the cellar strained under the weight of conflicting forces. "Face your darkness, Maeve." Isolde howled, her voice a tempest of wrath and fear. "You cannot separate us. You are the darkness, too." Each word struck Maeve like a blow. Memories of her own vulnerabilities flooded her mind, her insecurities, her fears, all the moments of doubt that burdened her. Could Isolde be right? Could her own darkness bind Lily too? No. Maeve screamed, pushing the curl into the trunk's opening. "I am not your creation. I will not be your puppet." With one last concerted effort, she summoned all her love, throwing it into the light. For a heartbeat, everything stalled. The cellar shimmered, shadows hesitated, caught in a limbo of tension. Then, the darkness fractured, a blinding explosions of light erupted from the trunk as if it had swallowed Isolde's very essence. The shadows recoiled, shrieking, retreating into the corners of the cellar. But just as victory felt within reach, Maeve caught a glimpse, her heart twisting. A shadow, darker and more terrible than before, surged into the heart of the light. It coalesced like a storm, leaving her breathless with fear. "Now you'll see," a voice whispered from the depth of the darkness, a voice that sent shivers crawling along her spine. "You've done nothing but awaken what should have remained sleeping." The ground quaked violently, fear seized Maeve, paralyzing her. Was this the true horror Isolde had warned her about? What had she unleashed? And would she ever find Lily, or had she merely opened the door to something even worse? The answer lingered in the air like poison. The shadows gathered once more, and Maeve knew, whatever came next would test the very limits of her courage. She braced herself. The darkness was calling. The shadows writhed, becoming tangible nightmares that threatened to engulf her whole. Maeve squinted against the glaring light, every instinct screaming for her to flee. Instead, she pushed closer to the trunk, eyes darting around. Where was Lily? Lily! She cried again, each syllable laden with anguish. The echo of her voice bounced off the cellar walls, replaced almost immediately by an oppressive silence, so heavy it felt like drowning. The dark mass tightening in the center of the swirling light cast a sinister halo around it, as if all the fears in Maeve's mind were bleeding into reality. The air buzzed with electricity, coursing through her veins, heightening every nerve ending. There it was again, a soft whimper. It pierced through the gloom like a shard of glass, rippling through her heart. "Lily? Where are you?" Maeve gasped, her throat tight, the shadows congealed, creating a grotesque form, its features shifting in and out of coherence. "You think you can save her? You think love conquers all?" The voice was smooth, yet brimming with malice, each word dripping with venom. It was not Isolde, but something or someone worse. "Show yourself!" Maeve shouted, defiance gripping her like a vice. The light flickered in response, casting long fingers of illumination against the walls. Was the light fading, or was it an illusion? Desperation clawed up her throat. From within the pulsating darkness came a figure that was both familiar and repulsive. "I am all that you fear, all that you hide. In your heart resides the very darkness you sought to defeat." It loomed, and Maeve could barely breathe for the weight of its presence. "No, no." She staggered back, but the shadows pressed forward, an inexorable tide. "You can cast no shadows on me, Maeve. You're simply revealing what lies buried deep within." The figure extended its hand, stretching fingers that morphed into claws, reaching for her, urging memories to spiral forth, a time of betrayal, whispers of loneliness, and the sting of doubt. Frantic, Maeve swung the golden curl before her, feeling its warmth pulse in tandem with her racing heart. "I want to let you take her. I love her. Lily's name tore from her lips like a lifeline, and the shadows paused, a flicker of uncertainty rippling across their bulk. The bad memories dampened, twisted into grotesque shapes, yet they loomed larger than life. A cacophony of her past echoed in her ears. Love. Your love is tainted. I will consume her, and you'll be left with naught but anguish. No. Maeve screamed, desperate strength surging through her. She thrust the curl toward the writhing mass once more, allowing its light to spill forth. You aren't real. You're just echoes of what I've been. As she spoke, threads of light shot from the golden curl, lancing into the dark form. With each connection, memories erupted, not just Maeve's fears, but also laughter, joy, shared moments with Lily, pure and untouched. The shadows recoiled, distorting, shifting. What have you done? The voice, now shrill, reverberated in the room, filling her with a twisted sense of power. But moments later, a horrifying realization crept into her mind. The golden curl was having unintended effects. The memories flowed from her, but they weren't just hers, they were drawn from Lily, too. What were they revealing? Sacrifices made? Regrets hidden? The ground heaved beneath her, and the trunk trembled violently. Lily, where are you? She screamed, a sharp pang of fear carving deeper into her heart. The shadows surged, disoriented but relentless, closing in. This ends now. She shouted, summoning every ounce of strength and determination as the shadows lunged. But before she could react, the very foundation of the cellar cracked open, unleashing a deep, ominous chasm. The light flickered, threatened to dim, yet the shadows were more than ready to take advantage. They poured into the opening, monstrous and ravenous, chanting her name in a slow, taunting rhythm. Maeve, Maeve, she drew back, hands trembling. What had she truly awakened? Would she be swallowed by the darkness she fought so hard against? The sobering thought hit her: the golden curl could either be her salvation or the key to chaos. She had one chance left. She looked into the abyss, heart pounding, hope wavering. Lily! She screamed one last time, her voice shaking the very air around her. The echoes twisted back, swallowed and drowned in the shadow's climax. Was the answer down there in the dark, or was it the beginning of her end? The shadows howled, and Maeve knew the darkness had only just begun to unveil its secrets. What lay beneath was far beyond anything she could have imagined. The chasm roared, wide and waiting, a gaping maw poised to swallow Maeve whole. Her breath caught as she fought the tidal wave of fear threatening to drown her reason. In the depths below, shadows danced like spitting serpents, writhing with hunger and malice. Lily! Tears stung her eyes, but determination bubbled up from a hidden reservoir. The curl still radiated warmth, yet its light was dimming under the pressure of the void. It felt as if the shadows were clasping hands, forming a barrier meant to keep her from crossing that threshold. With a deep breath, Maeve took a single step forward. The bricks beneath her feet groaned, shook. Dark whispers clawed at her mind, echoing all the things she feared: guilt, failure, and the relentless certainty that she might lose everything. Get back! Roared a voice, shattering the escalating gloom. Maeve turned to see the specter of Lily, but it wasn't entirely her. The features flickered, struggling against the darkness wrapping around her as if caught in a net of despair. Lily! Maeve lunged toward her, arms reaching, desperate, but the shadows pulled Lily down, down into the churning void. No! Don't! You have to fight! Maeve cried, but Lily's form was glimpsed for mere seconds before it dissolved, shadows curling around her like a vicious tempest. You can't save her, the monstrous figure hissed again, the contours of its grotesque body swelling and retracting. Her fate is already sealed, waiting in the dark. With that, another wave of darkness crashed down, engulfing Maeve. Panic exploded in her chest. She could feel the chill of the void wrap around her legs, drawing them into its depths. She couldn't let it happen. No. She wouldn't lose Lily like this. Not today. She shouted, summoning everything she had left. She thrust the golden curl forward, the light pulsing and expanding, splintering into beams that illuminated the cellar. The shadows screeched in a high-pitched wail, recoiling from the light that cut through their smoky form. Those twisted memories, the dark fears, began to dissolve, replaced by flicks of joy and laughter shared. Unwelcome warmth filled the air, igniting her hope anew. Lily. Fight. Maeve's voice echoed, weaving through the tumult, spiraling into the depths. There was a flicker of movement within the dark chasm, a desperate cry answered by the light. A flash of brilliance illuminated the corners of the cellar. Shadows shrank back, but with each pulse, they lunged forward, hissing words laced with fury. You think you can escape? You think you can rewrite destiny? As darkness slashed, Maeve grasped the golden curl with both hands, letting its warmth spread through her fingers, cleansing the icy grips of fear. She felt Lily's essence entwining with her own, their bond forged anew through the glow. Together. Maeve breathed, the word a mantra, a shield. We're stronger than this. But as the shadows twisted and contorted, a chilling realization struck her: a rift of trust had always been there between them, buried under layers of sorrow. What if Lily's own regrets lay deeper than she knew? Maeve's heart pounded in her chest, but she pressed on, pouring her memories into the light. Remember us, Lily. The laughter, the love. Our dreams. Each thought ignited the golden curl, sending out waves of warmth that pushed against the shadows desperately clawing for hold. A dark laugh echoed from within, haunting and twisted. You forget I am the shadows of her doubt. The darkness feeds on what you both fail to face. No. Maeve shouted back, the sound feral and raw. Hope clung to her no matter how far it felt, its glow vibrant against the inky black. I will not let you take her. You're a lie. With that final declaration, the ground shook violently once more, as if the very earth beneath them rebelled. The light exploded all around her, pressing against the odds, but as the brilliance reached its peak, a new presence emerged, palpable and cold, an echo of something older and far more sinister. Lily. Maeve whispered, dread creeping in, and then silence swallowed the roar of the cellar, leaving only the echo of her voice. The shadows retreating, but the darkness still hovered around the edges, thick and foamy, ready to envelop at any moment. What deeper fears lay buried in this undying fight? What sacrifices had they yet to unveil? Maeve's heart raced as a shadowed whisper slithered through the air. You both can never escape what you've sown deep within the chaos. Maeve was left gasping, the remnants of fear mingling with splinters of hope. But she knew one thing, this was only the beginning of a nightmare yet to unfold. The air in the cellar had changed, it hung heavy, suffocating, as if the shadows were alive, hungry for despair. Maeve stood poised, the golden curl of Lily's hair clutched tightly in her fist. She felt its warmth pulsing, a heartbeat against the encroaching darkness. Every moment stretched thin, teetering on the edge of chaos. Lily. Maeve cried, feeling the profound weight of her little girl's absence. I won't let her go. Her voice rang through the empty space, defiant, even as she wrestled with the shadows swirling like a storm around her. The grotesque figure of Isolde loomed larger, mocking, her voice a wicked melody. You think you can change fate? Lily belongs to the shadows now. You've opened the way. Panic surged through Maeve, but alongside it flowed fierce determination. You're wrong. She screamed, clutching the hair tighter. Our love is more powerful than your fears. With a furious cry, she thrust the golden curl forward, sending a surge of light blasting toward Isolde. The growl of darkness met the bright rays as if startled, flinching from the brilliance that pierced the oppressive haze. Shadows shrieked, dancing erratically as Maeve poured herself into the light, letting memories of laughter and love channel through her. The fissures in the ground yawned wider, threatening to swallow everything whole as the contrasting energies clashed. No. No. Isolde's voice cracked, tangling into a roar of fury. The darkness lunged toward Maeve, trying to pull her down, but she stood her ground, bolstered by the warmth of her determination. "We are stronger together, Lily. We have faced the shadows before. You can fight this." With every ounce of her being, Maeve forced the golden curl further into the heart of the shadows. The moment it touched the surface, the air erupted in warmth, casting the bitter cold of Isolde back into the recesses of the cellar. Light burst forth, illuminating the years of love they had shared. Joy erupted through the walls, flooding the darkness, and from the swirling shadows, a faint shimmer emerged caught within the chaos. "Mommy." Lily's voice, a truth, a light, a lifeline that cracked through the monstrous darkness, filling Maeve with raw hope. "I'm here, Lily. I'm here." As Maeve spoke, she felt the shadows snap around her, twisting in anguish. "You think you can save her?" Isolde shrieked, the malice boiling with fury. The shadows roared back, reaching for everything Maeve held dear. "You will pay for this." "No." Maeve yelled, fighting back with the love she felt for her daughter. "Your power is weak against our bond." The golden curl ignited, sending tendrils of light cascading like fire, illuminating the anguished faces of the shadows that clawed at her. The brilliance cut through the rot, casting away despair, bringing forth the strength of every moment of happiness shared. "Together!" Maeve shouted, rallying against the oppressive shadows. "We are stronger together." A sudden crack split the air as the darkness shrieked. In a burst of light, it split apart, revealing the faint outline of a small figure ensnared in shadows. Maeve didn't hesitate. "Lily!" she cried, reaching out with an outstretched hand, battling against the pull of the abyss. "Mommy, help me!" Maeve lunged forward, heart pounding as fierce flames of warmth radiated from the golden curl. Each step propelled her forward until, with a desperate grasp, she wrapped her fingers around Lily's outstretched hand. Strength surged through them, binding them against the shadows, breaking the chains that Isolde had tried to weave, but it wasn't just about breaking free. With their connection, Maeve summoned an energy so pure, memories flooded back, unraveling the darkness around them. "Just hold on. We're going to be okay." She shouted, each word laced with unwavering love. They rose, spiraling upward, light pushing back against the claustrophobic darkness, illuminating the cellar like day breaking through night. "No!" Isolde screeched, her form distorting as the light engulfed her. "You cannot escape the truth." But Maeve had come to realize that in confronting fear, in accepting the darkest parts of themselves, they could rewrite their destinies. In a blaze of light, Maeve felt the shadows recoil, their hold loosening like a frayed thread in the hands of a determined weaver. "I refuse to let despair define us," Maeve shouted. With one last thrust of energy, she unleashed the full power of love encapsulated in Lily's golden curl. The night shattered like glass. Warmth filled the room, washing over them, and in that moment, the darkness drew back, howling in defeat. Shadows swirled, disintegrated, and bit by bit, the thread of Isolde unraveled like mist in sunlight, dissipated into nothingness. As the brilliance faded, Maeve found herself knee-deep in the remnants of what once felt threatening. The air tasted fresh, open to possibility. "Mommy!" Lily's small hands clung tightly to her. "You found me." With tears pooling in her eyes, Maeve swept her daughter up into her arms. "I would fight the darkness 1,000 times over for you, my sweet girl." And in the warmth of their embrace, cuddled under the remnants of fear now vanquished, they knew their bond had ignited a fire greater than any shadow that dared to haunt them. As the first light of dawn seeped through the broken cellar door, washing away the last remnants of their nightmare, Maeve knew they had turned a corner. Ashwick would not hold the horrors of the past anymore. They had faced the shadows together, and their love had cast them aside like dust. The journey was just beginning, entwining hope with healing. But amid the challenges that lay ahead, Maeve felt strong, ready to embrace whatever came. Hand in hand, they stepped into the light, leaving the darkness behind, forever reborn. And now, this is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive, heart-pounding stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow this community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Lily and Maeve's journey. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this thrilling conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with actions. Let us go.